Well, good Tuesday evening, everyone. Welcome to Bowling with the Fef. I'm Andrew Pfeffer. Happy to see you here on a Tuesday night where we have our platform for you to share your unique bowling story and share it live on our YouTube channel. To be the first to know when we start our live streams and post new videos, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will get a notification telling you that we have new videos up, new live streams, things like that. And if you're watching this on the replay, be sure and put a comment in there. Let us know what you think of the episode. Let us know if you have questions. We'll be happy to respond. And let's head over to our first frame. You know, bowling, as I would hope you could agree with me when I say this, bowling is a sport. Bowlers are athletes. And I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Bowling is a sport. It's awfully tough to stay aggressive, to stay consistent, stay, throwing high scores, all the other stuff that makes for good bowling if you're out of shape. And, I found that out the hard way over the past couple of years. Dealt with some right knee pain and ended up wearing a brace to kind of stay pain-free in the process of bowling. I do some regular walking, do a little body weight stuff here and there, some light stretching to kind of keep that knee going. And so far, it hasn't held me back, which is a great thing. And what we're wondering today is, how do you work out or stay in shape? To be at your best on the lanes. Let us know in the comments. If you're watching on a replay, comment, let us know. And we will get to those comments later on in the show here. So let's get to our beer frame. And what a beer frame it is. We have, for our guest, Oswego, Illinois' AJ Johnson. How are you doing today, AJ?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you. We're talking about working out, things like that. And that's something that a lot of people know about you, is that you're a guy who really treats his body like a temple. What does a workout look like for you?
Yeah, I try to. I'm still working on it and still trying to get in the best shape possible. I guess it kind of all goes back from, when I was younger and growing up playing other sports. I've played baseball, football, basketball. Now I'm really getting into golf. So I pay attention to a lot of things that other athletes do that have made them great. And I try to incorporate that and I've been trying to flip the switch with bowling, along with other friends of mine like Marshall Kent, Darren Tang, Chris Vi, Kyle Sherman, and there's more that are around my age that are trying to change the image of bowling and trying to change the image that we work out, we take care of ourselves, we eat right, we don't let ourselves go, and that's because our schedules are so tight and we have so many things going on. But for me, working out has been something that I've always done. I went away from it for a little while towards the end of college, and then right after I graduated. But I really got back into it because I felt like it was important to. So when I'm home is when I do a lot of my weight stuff. I do a lot of heavier lifting, build the strength, as well as stamina and cardio. And then in the middle of tournaments and when I'm on the road, I try to do a lot of stretching, a lot of band work, still mix in a little bit of weights and stuff just to make sure that the strength is still there. But ultimately in between tournaments and while I'm on the road, it's all about keeping the legs strong, keeping the body flexible, and keeping that stamina up for the long hours that we spend in a bowling center.
Sure. Has that been forced to evolve or change because of regulations or things that COVID has caused, either at home or on the road?
Sure. Yeah. So I've noticed I've bowled a couple of tournaments outside of my home state, where I've stayed in a hotel, and they only limit it to maybe 2 people at a time, depending on how big the gym is at the hotel. Now I've also gone to Planet Fitness, and we've been very lucky that the PBA is we did have an agreement or a deal with Planet Fitness that the top 50 or 60 guys, I can't remember, had a membership with Planet, and that was because there was a Planet Fitness in every city we went to.
Sure.
And which was great. My home gym isn't Planet when I come home, but it was nice to have a place to go to when we were on the road. And there were some restrictions. I know at the beginning, everything shut down, so you couldn't go anywhere, couldn't get in a gym. So I did a lot of stuff at home, and I was very thankful that my sister has a treadmill over at their house, and I brought over some weights, brought over some bands, resistant bands, and things like that. And I had my niece and nephew down there helping me, pushing me more so of, hey, you're not doing that right, or you should do this. And then they would sit on my back and make me lift them. So I think I spent more time over at their house when we were shut down than I did at mine, but it was more so for that reason. Now that things are kind of opened up, it's been really nice. They, still have to wear the mask. And I think the one good thing that has brought this is a lot of people they're a lot more conscious of wiping things down. When they're done using equipment, they take care of they sanitize the area. I know, for my gym at night, once they close down, they have a crew that comes in, sanitizes the place, cleans up the weights and the machines, the treadmills and all that good stuff. So it's made people more aware of that before the virus. I think you go to a gym and work out, and you go from one place to another, and you're not really worried about that. Even though they had this stuff there to wipe it down, people weren't really conscious of it. Now I think they are. And it's been, I think it's what you should have done beforehand, but now, more and more people are doing it. And, I feel pretty safe going to the gym, still wear the mask, obviously, because my family's battled that. I have my grandmother's going through it right now at the hospital. And so I've been very conscious of, no matter where I go, I always take the precautions of making sure that I stay safe, because I don't want to be the one that brings that home.
Sure. What about in that situation where maybe you miss a workout or two? Do you find that it's tougher to be at your best on the lanes? Do you see any kind of tangible impact from that?
Not necessarily. I think the more you stick to it, the more you can allot yourself days off. I think the days off are just as important as the days you are training, because it gives you that time to unwind. It lets your body recover, as long as you're still doing the other right things, and that's the stretching, eating right, and all that good stuff. Sure. So I don't feel like it's as huge as a detriment. Maybe a day or two here and there, and during the season, I definitely will go from day to day, tournament to tournament, where, all right, I got to make sure I get a workout on here. That way, once we start competition, if I don't feel like I need to, because we've been in the bowling center all day, I can take that day off, or, in between tournaments and travel days, and just kind of relax. So not a huge detriment, unless you're taking, 2, 3, 4 weeks off at a time and you're not doing much, then that'll really show. The initial part of quarantine, and then getting back to bowling, I really felt it. I felt like a newborn deer, even though I was trying to take care of myself. And it was hard to do the necessary things, that the body's used to doing bowling, when you don't have a way to do that. And so that was the tough part.
Sure. All right. So you're the newborn deer, you're the shark, you're the Bearcat for life. We're calling this episode the feeding frenzy. So I guess tell me which one of those you like the best and why.
So which ones were they?
I said the newborn deer, the shark, or the Bearcat for life. I think I know the answer on this one. Yeah.
So the shark has always been my nickname, all through college. And then recently it's been kind of lost because of Prather and his phone case. I actually had a reason for mine. He just had a phone case. That is what it is. Now the Bearcat for life one, that's a good one. I really like that one. It goes to my roots, my college roots, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be where I am doing what I love to do at the professional level if it wasn't for McKendree and it wasn't for the Bearcats and my coaches there and all my teammates. So, yeah, the Bearcat for Life one, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's the one that I was betting on. But interesting story about the shark. Maybe Prather will come on this show and we can, he
does live 30 minutes from me, so I might have a chance to get him.
We can have a little debate about where this goes from here. You spoke about your roots. Let's talk about your bowling story. How did you get started? And I've heard this dates back to when you were like 3 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. I started bowling at 3. As soon as I could throw a ball down the lane. My dad has bowled his whole life. My parents met in a bowling center, actually my home center of Parkside Lanes in Montgomery. So I feel like bowling was always going to be a part of my story or a part of my life, no matter what. I just didn't know to what extent. And as I grew up, I played everything. I played football from the time I was 5 all the way through my senior year of high school. I played baseball, basketball. I just wanted to do it all. I was a sports freak. I was a sports fanatic. I made sure when I went to school, and my mom especially, she ingrained that I do well in school so that I can play sports, and that was the trade-off. And growing up, I had a cousin that played football at the University of Illinois, and I wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. And I went to a couple football camps, did a lot of things down there. My dad actually graduated from University of Illinois, so I wanted to be a part of that school, playing football. And when it came down to it, my senior year or through high school, I didn't really know how to go about it. I had coaches talk to couple of colleges and wanted information. Nothing really came from it, but I always continued to bowl. And my senior year of high school, after football season, was when bowling really started to kind of take off for me. I did a lot of cool things my senior year of high school, set a couple of records, and then got recruited to go to McKendree. And I didn't realize bowling was as big as it was in college until I got to go to a couple tournaments and see while I was being recruited. And it was amazing. I was blown away at how big it was and how serious that they take it. So that ended up being the path. I went to McKendree for 4 years and was very fortunate to have done a lot of things there. Accomplished a lot of things except for one main thing, and that was winning a national championship with my team. We came close one year, finished second. But the team, a lot of the guys that I got to bowl with were still around the year right after I graduated. And the year right after I graduated, they won a national championship. So I felt a little bit of pride in that and a closeness to it. Obviously you want to be a part of that and you want to be the one to contribute. But it was cool to see that and hear from those guys to kind of bring me into that moment with them and share it with them. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
In my senior year of college, I made the show at the Masters. Pretty overwhelming. I knew Jason before then because I had met him before and had bowled with him. But I beat him the night before to get the 1 seed, and then I got to bowl him for the title. He had just won the Masters year before, reigning player of the year. It was overwhelming, and that game went by so fast, and I didn't realize it until it was over.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy to me to think, all the things that have happened and where things have gone with this sport, where it's gotten me. I've been very, very lucky. And I hope to continue the up path, and I hope to continue to lay groundwork for kids after me to show all the things that you can accomplish and all the things that you can do through college and the pathways to get to the professional level the right way.
That's awesome. You're going to have to tell me, what was it like at McKendree? I was a college bowler too. I bowled for UW Eau Claire and UW Milwaukee back at late 90s, just early 2000s. So McKendree, if they were on the map, we didn't have exposure to that. We were looking up at teams like Saginaw. Western Illinois was starting to make some noise on a national level. What do you think that they did differently than maybe other programs, both to get you in the door and to make you this bowler that you've become?
So, yeah, McKendree really wasn't known for quite some time, until I would say maybe a year or two right before I had come in. And honestly, there was a really close friend of mine that helped me with coached me a little bit, helped me with some bowling things, that went to McKendree. And I had never heard of McKendree, but it was pretty cool to find out that McKendree University was the first university built in Illinois.
Oh,
it was amazing. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I think when I was being recruited, I had done a lot of good things in high school, and so I thought that maybe Wichita State and those big powerhouses were kind of on the map. And I never really got a whole lot from them. I did a couple of visits, and I did one that was totally, on my own. Like I did a visit with Newman University, and while we were there for the weekend, after that, we just drove over to Wichita State to walk around and go see the place. Never really did anything formal. And a couple of the other powerhouses too that, were around that time, never really said much and never really expressed any interest. I went on visits with Whitewater, Newman University, Robert Morris, McKendree. I did a online thing with Saginaw, and St. Ambrose was another one. So not a lot of schools, but not the ones that, back in the early 2000s, 90s were like the school. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And when McKendree came into my picture, and I was introduced by, the friend of mine, I noticed something different about the men's head coach, Dennis Knepper. In working with him a couple of times outside of high school, he just had a different eye of seeing things in kids' games and could improve them dramatically. And he had this whole perspective of just seeing the game and being able to take what you do well, make that better, and then make the things that you're not quite so good at just as good. And I've always said that he's the most underrated coach in the country, and it's because he doesn't have, the gold certification or the whatever, but he has done some pretty amazing things. And like I said, I don't know that I would be here without him. And I felt like McKendree kind of went above and beyond the recruiting process, in a way to where they went out of their way to come and watch tournaments. They made my visit very, very personal. When I would go and visit guys at tournaments and go and watch how college bowling worked, they made me feel part of the family already. And that was a big thing for me. And quite honestly, I wanted to be a part of a program to, a not so heard of yet, and beat up the big names. I wanted to make an impact right away in college bowling. I felt like I wanted to bowl right away and bowl with the team and travel immediately. And that was because I wanted to beat the big schools that I felt like only recruited a certain kind of player, and show them that, look, there's other forces out here, and you guys missed one. You forgot about a team. And so, that was my big driving force in going there.
Wow. And to have a runner-up finish that senior year, that says a lot. While we're on that topic, Junior Team USA, you were also a member of Junior Team USA. How did that happen?
So that happened once I got into college. I always had a dream of bowling with Team USA. I always felt like that was, one of the biggest stages of our sport. Wearing those 3 letters on your back and the colors of your country. I don't know that I can describe a feeling other than the fact that there is no better feeling, outside of maybe winning a major championship, which I've gotten close, but not yet. But being a part of a team like that, where it's the best in the country, you're wearing your country's colors and the letters, and you're representing your country, playing a sport that you love, is an incredible feeling. And I always had that dream. And my freshman year of college, there's a tournament out in Vegas every year, Team USA Trials. It's held the first week of January. This year, I believe it's in Indy. Normally, it's ran in Vegas. So I don't know why they changed venues, but makes it easier for me. I can drive. I went and bowled for the first time, and not my goal going in was to see how I fended against better competition, because I knew a few tour players would be there, but I knew the better talent of the country and guys that had been on the team before bowled that event, and I wanted to go and bowl. I wanted to see how I stacked up against them. I wanted to see how good was I right now to where I can go. And I ended up finishing third. I was leading going into the last day, finished third in the total points in their point ranking system. And I made the junior team and the adult team my very first time. And I was elated. Being a part of that team and having access to those coaches and having access to that training center, having the jacket put on you for the first time, there's just no better feeling. Every day, I know I never take it for granted. Every year I work it towards bowling that week to solidify my spot on that team, to be a part of that team. Because it does mean so much to me.
Yeah. How does international competition differ from, competing at tournaments, even PBA tournaments here in the States?
So international competition with Team USA is a lot of team bowling. So we'll take the World Championship, for instance. There is a singles competition, but there's a doubles event, a trios event, and then a whole team event. And all the teams, throughout the week, they're all preparing for that team event, because taking home the World Championship team gold, like that's the ultimate goal at the end. And I think it's very eye-opening, because there's a lot of great talent around the world that not very many people get to see. And so it's just kind of the different part is just seeing how they go about the sport versus how we go about the sport, and what they do differently. The physical game aspects and the lane play and all that good stuff, there's a lot of similarities. They very much enjoy the power game, and they've studied the power game, and that's that's been a big trend across a lot of teams over the years, to where that's what they like to do. The other big thing is a lot of, especially in the Asian countries, they like urethane. They like urethane. They throw it on a lot of things that we probably wouldn't throw it on. And that's left-handers and right-handers. So their use of urethane versus our use of urethane is probably a little bit more, and they're probably some countries are a little bit better at it. And now, as far as professional competition, the one biggest thing that I tell people that the difference is in international competition is you can re-enter. So a lot of international competitions have re-entries where you can bowl as many times throughout the week until the finals to make it to the end. You bowl in the States, you bowl on the PBA Tour, you get those 2 or 3 or 4 days of qualifying. That's it.
Yeah.
There is no, I bowled my games today, I'm going to re-enter and I'm going to try to make the finals. You get that one shot. So that's a big difference. And a lot of them come accustomed to that over there. And at first when I started bowling international stuff, it was weird. I didn't get it. I'm like, wait a second. So I bowl qualifying today and these scores count. But if they're not quite good enough, then I can come back tomorrow and I can bowl again and re-enter. What? It didn't register with me. So, and you could bowl as many times as you wanted until the day of the finals.
Oh, wow.
So it was just it was a different environment, and had to learn different ways to go about that versus over here.
Sure. So you said while you're still in college, you get that taste of the Masters. Obviously there's something within you that says, you know what, I can compete with the best in the world on the PBA Tour. What was that kind of put you over the edge and made you, confident enough to get out there?
So, throughout college, I'd said I'd done some pretty amazing things with my team and individually. But I wanted to make sure that I graduated and got my degree and then kind of figure out what it is that I was going to do after that. And I think the Masters tournament was that moment. That week, just getting through the matches and getting to that TV show, as somebody who knew some of the players and have bowled some better competition, but wasn't really in that scene, to beat a lot of good players and to get there, that was the big thing that, the light bulb of, you know what, I think I can do this. As a matter of fact, I know I can do this. That it was the fastest game of bowling on TV. I mean, the TV show, it is what it is. I've learned the more shows that you make, the more you take things from different shows and it makes the next one better. And you learn, the differences between TV show, how the pattern plays on the show versus does during the week, and all those different things. And so, yeah, that week was a big week for me because I came home and I said, I'm going to get to live my dream of being a professional athlete, because that's what did it for me. I said, yeah, I can do this. And that's what I'm sticking to.
Sure. You had mentioned being into other sports as you were younger: basketball, football. Baseball was the one that caught my ear, because you've got guys like Tommy Jones, like Earl Anthony, who were baseball players, yet can succeed at the highest level on the PBA Tour. Is there something to that baseball players, have something that helps them achieve big things in bowling?
I think what, the biggest thing with athletes is the hand-eye coordination. Baseball requires a lot of that, with hitting a ball, fielding a ground ball, fielding a fly ball, pitching. There's a lot of hand-eye coordination and a lot of athletic movements that go with a lot of that. So I think the athletic side of that allows for those guys, myself included, to be able to play multiple different sports and be good at those. Obviously, we're not playing professional baseball. We're not playing professional football or basketball or whatever. And as much as we would like to and sign those contracts, but it's just that athletic side of it's the hand-eye coordination and the ability to have athletic movements to play multiple different sports. One of the sports that we like to compare to is golf. And I really have gotten into that. I started getting into it when I was in college. And then once I was out and had a lot of friends that were big into golf, I was like, yeah, it was a sport that I hadn't done when I was younger that I wasn't very good at. I'm still kind of not good at it, but the athlete in me was like, I got to get better at this. So I went into it full bore. And there's a lot of guys that bowl on tour that are really good golfers. EJ Tackett, Ronnie Russell, Tommy Jones he's a scratch golfer. So it's fun to watch them play, and it goes back to that hand-eye coordination, which is a lot in bowling with what we do with our hand with a bowling ball. We can manipulate it however we want to, because we're so good at feeling where our hand is and feeling what it is doing with the bowling ball. And then we can translate that to other sports with golf, with hands on the club, being able to hit shots, baseball, fielding a ground ball, hitting a pitch, all that stuff. And so I think that's the biggest. I think that's the big thing that correlates with other sports.
Sure. You're a high rev guy, relatively speaking to a lot of the guys, at least that I see bowl, maybe even that I see bowl on tour. Were you always a high rev guy? And tell me, I guess, what goes into that? Is it a deal where when you get to the bottom of the swing, you're hitting it as hard as you can, or is there more finesse there?
So yes, I have always been that way. My backswing used to be probably double the height that it is now. I was always the big backswing, the high rev, all that cool stuff. And that was because growing up, I watched Tommy Jones, Robert Smith, those guys that they just got after it. They were the power guys and the rev guys before the two-handers came along. And everyone was like, whoa, what's that? I'm like, I want to do that. And so when I figured out a way to, and I got strong enough to be able to do that, I just kept doing it and learned to kind of hone in the better parts of it and kind of get rid of the wasted movements and the erratic part of it. I actually had a guy, I think I was 8 or 9 years old. There was a guy working in the storm booth out at USBC Nationals. And I used to travel with my dad to that every year. And if I was good throughout the week, I would get a ball at the end. I'm like, all right, cool. Perfect. Yeah. So I spent, as a kid, I was walking up and down, going through all the vendors, look at all the new balls and look at all the different things. And every day I would go back thinking like there'd be new stuff, but it was all the same stuff. And there was a guy working in the storm booth. And at the end of the week, I got a new ball. It was a Storm X Factor Deuce. And when we got done, he wanted me to go just in the back where the presses were to roll it to him just to see if it came off my hand right. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know any better, and I hadn't done this before. So when he had me do that, I took 2 steps and I reared it back and was getting ready. He was like, "Whoa, no!" So my dad was like, "I know." He goes, "We're trying to work on lowering it and get." He goes, "Does he do that all the time? Like, does he bowl that backswing and that power?" He goes, "Yeah, that's what he likes to do. He likes to just unload on it." And he's told my dad, he said, "You can teach him the game. You can teach him bowling balls and lane play and like being able to play the right part of the lane." He said, "Do not change that part of his game." He said, "That's where it's going to. If he does that naturally now, don't change it." He said, "That's incredible." He goes, "I know I freaked out because I didn't want him to throw it 100 miles an hour at me." But he's like, that's incredible. I've never seen an 8 or 9-year-old kid have that strength or be able to do all that naturally. And so my dad was like, "All right, cool." So we just we went with it. And then over the years, I've learned to how to horn it in and use that max out ability when it needs to be and be able to dial it back when it needs to as well. And the guy that drills my stuff for me, actually, he kind of jokes about it. And I'm like, "Yeah, like, dude, you're just blowing smoke." But he's like, it's amazing to see how you've transitioned and what you've been able to learn and do to take that power and your high rev rate, but still have feel and still be able to do different things and not just do one thing. And that's a credit towards my days in college with Dennis, because I didn't really have a legitimate coach until I went to college. My dad has always been my coach when I was a kid. He still is now. When I'm home, I still go to him and say, "Hey, something look off here or something not right. Something doesn't feel right." And I'll tell him something doesn't feel right. And so we'll practice and he'll see things. But yeah, it's been a process because that power putting your thumb in it is different than than the guys that do it with two hands. And so there's different things you got to learn to be able to get the ball to do the right thing.
Sure. You had mentioned that this was at a Storm booth. You were on the Storm staff for a while. You were an EBI guy for a while. Now you're a Motive guy for a while. Why is that? Is there a difference between the three, all the ones out there? What kind of responsibilities do you have? What's it like to be a staffer on these companies?
All I can say is I'm very fortunate. I was introduced to the guys at Storm as a junior in college. That's when I signed my first deal with them. And it was the year right after we had taken second at Nationals. And I was with them for, I think, 6 years or so, and then signed a deal with Ebonite, and then now with Motive. And it's an incredible feeling to have the support and to have that family feel from companies, bowling ball manufacturer companies that make our sport go, and they make our sport grow, and they are one of the biggest driving factors in our game. And to have a contract and a deal with those companies, I've been extremely fortunate. I can't say enough nice things about the people at Storm and the people at EBI, and now with Motive, that have treated me like family. And obviously, when you get to the professional level, you see other sports where they, have these big deals and these endorsement deals, and they sign these big contracts with their team and all that good stuff. And so having the deal that we do with our bowling ball companies, it's kind of the same thing. It's what all the players work towards. It's what they get to. There are more now than what I think there was, back 10, 15 years when contracts were very limited. I know in talking with a lot of the players that are older than me, they said, it's way different now than what it was then. But it still has that special feeling to it. When you sit down with the higher ups of the company and you have those discussions, and you sign your name and you're affiliated with a company and get to represent them no matter where you go, and no matter what you do. I'll wear a Motive shirt just to go hit golf balls at the driving range. Or I was actually at a store during quarantine, and I had a guy stop me. I was wearing it was a Motive, like, kind of jersey material, dry fit shirt. And it just had a bunch of cool lines, and it had the M on it. It had like an M on the shoulder that looked like it was tattooed on. And I had a guy stop me. He's like, "Dude, that's a really cool shirt. Where can I get that?" And so I got to tell people about Motive Bowling and what I do for a living. They're like, "Well, that's like, you bowl for a living?" I said, "Yeah. Like, this is one of my companies that I'm with." And they thought it was really cool. So having that and being affiliated to those brands, and I have great brands that I'm affiliated with, that I support, and I've told all them, in hopes that they stick through they stick through everything that's been going on, that they have all of our support as well as they support us. And it's a cool feeling to get to the level you're at and to have those affiliations, and to feel like a professional athlete, because we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of being a professional athlete, a lot of people see you guys on TV. They might think that's it. Some of us who know a little more know that you go through a whole week of bowling and only the top few get to that spot on TV. Is there something about life on tour, being a full-time tour member, that not a lot of people know but should?
Absolutely. I wish it's kind of, me and my buddies have kind of talked about it for a while. And the one thing that we wish that we had that another sport has is we wish we had a bowling channel on TV that ran coverage for every event, every day of the tournament, just like the golf channel does for golf events. It would be amazing, because then people would get to see the day in and day out grind that we go through, the brutal competition that takes place when you start from qualifying day one to you get in match play, and what it takes to get to the top 5. And they're not just seeing, those 5 guys and they're like, oh yeah, they bowled a few games during the week and had some matches and whatever. And then they got to TV. Well, there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a lot more planning and game plan, ways to attack the pattern day to day, because it changes every day. Conversations with the ball reps, going out to the truck to drill different bowling balls based on what you're seeing on the lanes that day. So there's a lot of things that people don't get to see unless they're there, that we wish that people would get to see more of, and they would get to see that grind from day one all the way to the TV show, to get a true appreciation of what it is that we do and what it is that we go through week in and week out.
Sure. You mentioned you had that second place finish at the Masters. You've made some shows since then. You still haven't won a national title.
Thanks for reminding me.
Hey, that's my job, right? They even mentioned that on your intro video in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Does it ever get to be a little too much? I mean, I feel like it's something that kind of sticks with you in each of these interviews. And, like I said, I got to at least mention it, but tell me how you feel about that. Is it something that weighs on you, or is it something that motivates you and you use it as fuel to get to that next accomplishment?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't seem to elude me, no matter what. And I have now, I think, 6 or 7 second place finishes for titles. And it most certainly is a motivating factor, 100%. Like I said, I've been an athlete my whole life, and I find things that motivate me, and I find all these different ways to just keep going. And it's a motivating factor, big time. But yes, it does. It does wear on you. When you see friends that are your same age win and win multiple times, and you're happy for them because they're your buddies. But also at the same time, you're like, well, shit, I wanted to win. Like, that's what I was trying to do. And so that side of it has it's there, but it's not, it doesn't take over the motivating side of it. That's why I stay true to what I do. That's why I stay true to working out and doing the right things and practicing as much as I can, even at the discretion of when bowling centers are open now, given the special circumstances. But yeah, over the years, it has. I still think about it because nobody lets me forget about it. And it's I guess as my career's gone and what I've been able to do is kind of I guess a testament to myself to keep going because of the things that I still have accomplished and the ability to still get there, even though I don't have a win. The second place finishes, the shows that have gone on with the league, and the impact that I feel like I've been able to make there, and getting to different parts and being a name still on tour that doesn't have a title has been, I guess it just goes back to my persistence and my never quit attitude, because I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep doing the things that I think I need to do. And I'm going to keep learning and finding ways to do different things better. And I'm going to rely on the guys that I'm affiliated with this side. Yeah. With Motive and use it. And they've shown a commitment to me at the beginning of the year. And it took only 3 events to make a TV show. And this year I've had a lot of success. I made a show 3 events in, had the big deal with Barnes, and thought that I could have gotten to that title match. But then right after that, I made every cut in the majors, was having a really good season going into the shutdown with quarantine. And then when we got to finish the league in the playoffs, I would have liked to have gone further in the playoffs. Obviously, everybody does. Yeah. But they've all been steps in the right direction. So, yeah, no matter what, I still think about it, and it sucks. Trust me, it sucks. Because all I've wanted to do is win, and I hate losing. But I'm going to keep working and keep going and motivating myself to win, because I feel like once I get that first one and I break through and I bust open that door, more are just going to come behind it.
Yeah, well said. Well, that was pretty heavy, so let's lighten it up a little bit. This past weekend, we got to see, I believe it was a tape delayed version of the PBA Clash, and we saw you there.
I love it. I'm so glad that people saw.
Yeah, cheering on Francois Lavoie. Unfortunately, that was the moment where he left 9 and ended up getting eliminated. But tell me what that was like to be in that, to cheer on your teammate from the Las Vegas High Rollers.
Yeah, we had we didn't really have much expectations going into that, because we didn't know how it was going to go and what they were going to do. But when we showed up and they had all of us go over to the side to be the fans, it was a really cool event. And a lot of the guys got behind their player. We were all cheering during the whole thing. We were all chirping at one another. I mean, it was just so much fun. And when we decided to do that, it was just I told the guys, I'm like, hey, we got the Vegas name. We're one of the new teams. We're still in it. Like, let's have fun with this. And so I told the guys, I'm like, hey, I got a bunch of sunglasses, because I have a bunch of pairs because my eyes are very sensitive to sunlight. I'm like, let's all put sunglasses on and cheer on Frankie. I said, because people they're gonna love that. They're gonna see it on the TV show. They're gonna draw towards that. And so that was our thing. The Vegas, sitting at the poker table with the sunglasses on. But yeah, that event was really cool. It kind of sucked that the first time Frankie didn't strike was the time that he was eliminated. Yeah. I'm like, well, of course, that's the way it has to go. But it was cool. We had fun with it. The other teams had fun with it. I don't know if anyone really saw it, but when one guy would get eliminated and they would go to a break, once your player was eliminated, you had to put your flag down for your team, and then you would leave the area. So it was just the teams left. All the guys would start singing, no, 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 no. And start waving. So it was cool. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They did a really good job with it.
Good to hear. So where do you go from here? We've heard the announcement of some of the tentative plans for the PBA this next year, including the U.S. Open in near Green Bay in Ashwaubenon, which is near where I am. What does AJ Johnson do from here in regard to the future on tour?
So yeah, we got notification of the couple events that are going to happen next year. We're still waiting, our full schedule from the PBA on what's going to happen and how things are going to operate. Obviously, the whole world is still, or the whole country is still waiting to hear how this virus thing is going to transition once we get to next year, and what's going to happen, with the vaccine and all that good stuff. Which we hope that there more and more is done to open things back up more to the way that they were. I think everybody wants to get back to some normalcy. I know we do, and I know I do especially. But in the meantime, I just bought a house recently, so I'm in the process of furnishing that. Yeah, I mean, so if it echoes a little bit, it's because I don't have a whole lot of furniture, and that's not on my fault, because I bought furniture back in October. Right, I would say maybe a week or two after I had closed, and have still yet to get updates on when my furniture is going to arrive.
Yep.
I've got some nice counter chairs and some island chairs to sit in my kitchen, but and I have my sister and brother-in-law's their old couch from when they had a townhouse before where they live now. So I do have some places to sit. I have a friend's old spare bedroom set, so I have a place to sleep, but I don't have like my big couch and my kitchen table and my master bedroom set and mattress and my king bed. Yeah. So I'm awaiting all of that. I'm still finding things here and there, furniture wise, to piece together in the house, decorating things, how I want my man cave set up with all my cool bowling stuff and golf stuff. So outside of that, it's getting ready for the tour season. Barring that, we're still going to have a tour season. We're still going to have a somewhat regular schedule, and that's working out. I've been spending a lot of time with family, my niece and nephew, especially. My niece and nephew are my whole world, and I try to do as much with them when I'm home as I can because they know that I travel a lot and I'm not around as much. And as much as my nephew now he's 8, and so he's really into bowling and really into like every single sport he does. And I love that and want to do all that stuff with him. And he just qualified for Pepsi finals, and so he's all jacked up about it. So I try to spend as much time with them as I can now that I live 2 blocks away from where they live. So outside of that, it's just trying to practice when I can, when things are open. I know there's a couple surrounding areas that are still open. I'm going actually this week. I'm going out to spend some time with EJ Tackett because him and I are going down to Alabama to do a clinic with Pen for Pins. So I'm going to spend a couple of days with him, get to practice and bowl out at his family's bowling center. And then as far as tournament-wise, the only tournament I have going forward is an event with Dino Castillo down in Texas. Okay. He asked me to bowl an over 40, under 40 doubles tournament with him. So yeah, just continue the process of getting ready for tour season, enjoying my time off because we don't get a lot of time off, and piecing a house together and trying to get ready for the tour season.
Yeah. Hopefully you have a hardware store nearby or Menards, Home Depot, something like that. You'll be there a lot.
Everything around here.
Let's move on to the foundation frame. That's where our viewers make questions and comments. I'm hoping I've got a couple. Nope. All I've got is my mainstay, Utopian Baseball Universe, who is my buddy Joe. We were bowling buddies back in the 80s. At Brown Deer Lanes in Brown Deer, Wisconsin. He dares me to say La Gripa tonight, which is a reference to a Squirrel Nut Zippers song. You like the Squirrel Nut Zippers?
I have never heard of them.
I was afraid you were going to say that. I'm showing my age now, but there's something for you to check out while you're sitting there at home, not Perfect. At the hardware store. So our tradition on this show is to go off the sheet with a challenge. That's you challenging someone who would be great on this show. So my question to you, AJ Johnson, is who would you challenge to be on this show and why?
Somebody that I think, I've gotten to spend a little bit of time with him. I mean, there's a couple of names that come in to my mind. One who now lives 30 minutes from me, and that he has reached out to me to actually start getting into some workouts. I showed him a couple of different things. We had a couple weeks ago. We had a workout together, and I don't think he was as prepared as he thought he was. He was a little winded, but that's okay. That's okay. He showed initiative to start, and he wants to keep going with it. And that's Chris Prather. He does really well with these things. He talks well. Obviously it'd be cool to have him on so you can talk about the shark thing. Yeah. And make sure to remind him who the original shark is.
If we make the connection, I'm sure he's going to find out.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does really well with these. He's had a lot of success recently. A lot of big success. He won the playoffs last year, won the TOC this year. So he's doing a lot of good things. And it's cool that we live so close and we talk We don't practice very much together, just, because of the whole COVID thing and bowling centers not being too open up. We don't want to take advantage of any bowling proprietors or anything like that. And so we don't get to spend as much time together as maybe we had wanted to. But when we do spend time together, we have a good time, and he does good with this. And the other person is Marshall Kent. I room with him. We travel together on tour. So I think he would be a good one to have on here, because I'm sure he would have some stories to tell. And he does really good with these live streams, and he's always up to doing some new stuff, as am I. So either one of those would be great.
Awesome. I love it. A 2-for-1. Well, I tell you what, I'll reach out if you wouldn't mind putting in a good word. We would love to have either or both of those guys on the show. AJ Johnson of Oswego, Illinois, PBA member, all around good guy, new home owner. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been a great show. Thank you for allowing us to tell our story, and people get to see the other side of us that they may not really get to see.
Absolutely. That's the whole goal of this thing. All right. Thanks again. So yeah, a great conversation there with AJ Johnson, PBA member. Has been on a bunch of shows trying to break through for that first win. And I think with that attitude, he is well on his way. Again, let us know what you thought. Leave us a comment. And if you're watching on the replay, do the same. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're interested in being on the show, Bowling with the Fef, just go to bit.ly/Bowling with the Fef, hit up that application, and we will find a way to get you on. There is no skill level that doesn't work with this show. That's the whole point, is to have bowlers with varied skill levels, telling their unique bowling stories and putting that out over the interwebs. Again, I'm Andrew Pfeffer. Our next show is coming up on Monday, December 7th. We hope you're here for that. Otherwise, have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.